company for 24 years. I was posted in Greece for 15. Papandreou wins that election if I don't help the junta take him prisoner. I've advised and armed the Hellenic army. I've neutralized champions of communism. I've spent the past 3 years learning Finnish.
Charlie Wilson's War.
Hey.
What?
I just want to take another look at you.
A Star is Born.
Hey, watch it, fellas. You got the prince of the city there. Some event, huh? Brought out the one guy in the city more reclusive than me.
Thought you'd never leave the shoreline. Aren't you afraid someone will take a shot at you?
Why? Because your father ain't around.
The Batman. What do all three of these movies have in common?
Those right there are just three of some of the most memorable performances that I can think of from the last 20 years of filmmaking. And on this episode of Time About the Movies, it's one of our 20th anniversary specials as we are continuing my celebration of me covering the biggest movies for the past 20 years. And today we have a special looking at my favorite performances over the last 20 years. And it was needless to say, it was a pretty long list to put together. When it was all said and done, I had almost 50 different performances because I split it up into two, actor and actresses, and yeah, I had nearly 50 performances on here. So here's the thing. We're going to be very quick on these. I'm not going to go into like great details overall because, because if I did that, we would be here all day long. So yeah, we have a lot to get to here, so why don't we go ahead and start off with the best acting performances of the last 20 years from actors. You know, people like, we've had a lot of great performances across the board from seasoned actors like David Strathairn, Denzel Washington, Tom Hanks, but then you also have these younger actors that we're going to talk about, including Gabriel LaBelle, who's another one on this list here, people that you might not be too familiar with overall. So I'm going to go through them right here. And like I said, I'm going to be very quick on these. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. So with all that said, let's just go ahead and jump right on into it, shall we? So first off, I have David Strathairn from Good Night and Good Luck playing Edward R. Murrow. Of course, in this movie, it's a story about how Edward R. Murrow was accused of being a communist back in the 1950s. And, this is a performance where he was nominated for an Academy Award, and rightfully so. He was very good in the performance, and he's always been a great seasoned actor. He's been in he's been a great character actor in a lot of stuff, He was in stuff like, The River Wild, The League of Their Own, Sneakers, The Firm, LA Confidential. He was in the Bourne movies. He was recently in stuff like Nightmare Alley and also Nomadland. Guy's a great actor overall, and the whole idea of the movie here is that, he's trying to convince everybody that the Senator, Joseph McCarthy, is completely wrong on accusing him of being a communist, and, he knocks it out of the park, man. This is such a great movie overall. I mean, I like George Clooney, what he did with the Broadway adaptation of Good Night, Good Luck, but if I had to pick the best overall of the two, David Strathairn definitely is the one I would take first of all. Next up, we have Paul Dano as Dwayne Hoover from Little Miss Sunshine. Little Miss Sunshine had a lot of great performances all across the board, including Abigail Breslin's breakout performance and Alan Arkin getting an Academy Award for this, which I thought was well-deserved. But the performance that kind of gets overshadowed in this is Paul Dano, who is playing this kid who, he's trying to get into the, he wants to go ahead and be he wants to be a fighter pilot, and he's taken this vow of silence until he can accomplish that. But when his uncle, Steve Carell, they're getting to the final leg of the trip here, and the kid discovers that he is colorblind because of Steve Carell's character, and because of that, he can't be a pilot. And he spent most of the movie relatively quiet, but once he has that breakdown moment, and finally just realizes that his dream is not possible, the character actually does become very interesting overall, because he and Steve Carell's character realize that this pageant that they're going to, that this young girl is so excited to be in, is very effed up. And this was way before the pageantry scene really began to show all the dark side of things and all that. And Paul Dano overall was really good in this movie and showing off what he can be as a great actor overall. Because of course he followed this up with stuff like in There Will Be Blood, 12 Years a Slave, Prisoners. He was great in Love and Mercy. He was just in the Batman and the Fablemans. I mean, terrific actor overall. This is the performance that I think really does stick out with him the most for me, because he is knocking it out of the park. And even though he doesn't have a whole lot to do in this movie, he makes his presence known. It's a performance that sadly gets overlooked compared to the other performances, but it's definitely a performance worth checking out overall. Philip Seymour Hoffman as Gus Avrakotos from Charlie Wilson's War. And I picked this performance because it has one of the greatest introductions to a character you'll ever see. It starts with him getting into an argument with John Slattery, the CIA Director of European Operations, because of something that had happened beforehand. And Philip Seymour Hoffman gives these great, powerful performances, and there's specific times when he snaps, and you feel it, man. Like, you could tell the guy is putting his all into it. And he snaps at John Slattery to the point where he destroyed a window before in his office, and he destroys it again. And that performance right there alone was more than worth it to get him the Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination that year for this movie, which is a great film overall. And he's with seasoned vets like Tom Hanks and Julia Roberts, and he's knocking it out of the park. He's the one big takeaway from this movie that you really take from it overall. Well, him and Emily Blunt, but Emily Blunt, you usually just see is Emily Blunt's for another reason. But if you want to know more about that, check out my review of that movie. Philip Seymour Hoffman is great in the movie, really fantastic, a great intro for him, great performance overall, really great one for him. Next up on the list I have Frank Langella as Richard Nixon in Frost Nixon. And Frank Langella, kind of like David Strathairn, a seasoned character actor who very rarely gets these big roles nowadays. I mean, he did back in the day, but like in the last couple of decades, he had not been given a whole lot of more supporting roles in general, but in here he really is very good at getting his first big leading role in a long time, as he plays Richard Nixon during the famous Frost Nixon interviews of 1977, and he has to compete with Michael Sheen, and he is just knocking it out of the park big time, man. I mean, he is probably one of if not the best Richard Nixon performer you'll find out there, and he just sells it in this film. It's a top-notch performance from him, from a great actor, more than well deserving of the Academy Award nomination he got for that. Terrific performance. And speaking of another great performance that was nominated that year, Brad Pitt as Benjamin Button in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. It was a movie where, he had to play this character through all these different roles as this young kid with his disease, where he was born an old person. Then he has to be the Brad Pitt that we know him as a person who's a comfortable age with Cate Blanchett. And it's just such a solid performance overall, and he's knocking it out of the park in every single one. Great chemistry with Cate Blanchett. I mean, just a terrific performance that really, I think he should have won the Oscar for this, rather than the Oscar he won for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But that's my personal opinion on that one. Robert Downey Jr. As Tony Stark. I had to pick which Robert Downey Jr. performance I thought was the best overall in the 20 years since I started the show, and you gotta go back to the original, Tony Stark as Iron Man, because with that performance in particular, with Tony Stark, it's a performance where it's taken a lot from his life, because this movie in particular was one of the big ones that kind of saved his career overall. And the thing that really struck me from it was the fact that one of the big traits in this movie was that Tony Stark, as soon as he got back from Afghanistan, the first thing he says is, "Take me to a Burger King. I want a Whopper." And it was literally because Robert Downey Jr. in real life was eating a burger, and he realized that he had to get his life turned around, and thus, lo and behold, he's now an Academy Award-winning actor with a number of great performances on his resume. And I think Tony Stark overall is his best performance in not just Iron Man, but the MCU in general. I mean, the character has evolved in a way where his story over the course of that 11-year run is so well done. Like, he has his regrets. He still is the party animal that he was back in the day, but he wants to be a humanitarian too, and he just makes it work so well because you buy into the performance of Downey Jr. in this as well. Just top-notch film, top-notch character overall. Great performance by an actor who is more than well-deserving of this career renaissance he's gotten in the last 20 years. Robert Downey Jr. As Tony Stark, and not just Iron Man, but the MCU as well. Next up, Jesse Eisenberg as Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network. I mean, a commanding performance in that movie by Eisenberg, and just the line readings in this movie where, the one quote that really does stick out with me whenever I think of this movie in general is, of course, when, he's in the building with the Winklevoss twins, and he's getting this deposition, and there's a point where he just goes like, "I think if your clients want to sit on my shoulders and call themselves tall, they have the right to give it a try. But there's no requirement that I enjoy sitting here listening to people lie. You have part of my attention. You have the minimal amount. The rest of my attention is back at the offices of Facebook, where my colleagues and I are doing things that no one in this room, including and especially your clients, are intellectually or creatively capable of doing." That adequately answer your condescending question. Like, I'm kind of paraphrasing the quote from that scene in particular. There's more to that, but just the performance in that is just so game. Like, he is so in on this performance, and he just knocks it out of the park. And I mean, it's kind of a shame that he's not coming back for the sequel, supposedly, but I mean, he made it work in that film alone, and just, you know, just a great performance in that film. Worth mentioning there. Leonardo DiCaprio as Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street. You know, so you want to talk about iconic lines. He has a ton of them in this movie, DiCaprio does. This is one where I think he should have won the Oscar for Best Actor, honestly. I mean, yeah, I'm glad he finally got it with The Revenant and all. I mean, all it took him was getting raped by a bear to do that, but in the Wolf of Wall Street, he has just those memorable quotes. I mean, who doesn't quote that line when he's getting ready to announce that he's leaving, and he's going, and he takes that brief pause, and then he's just like, "I'm not fucking leaving," and then everybody's just like, "Hey!" Like that's a great performance all around. A lot of solid line readings all throughout the course of this film with him in it. Just the best performance from DiCaprio in the 20 years since I've done this show. Another name I'll add in here, Michael Keaton as Regan Thompson in Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. And who doesn't love Michael Keaton, man? This is one where he really should have won the Best Actor for this. I mean, this was his big chance to do it, and he knocked it out of the park in Birdman. I mean, the guy is a terrific actor, and this is an embodiment of his great career overall. Just a solid performance overall from Keaton in this. A performance that did win an Oscar that same year, J.K. Simmons as Terrence Fletcher. And, you know, again, those memorable line readings, man, like when J.K. Simmons is just going to Miles Teller, just like, are you rushing or are you charging? Are you rushing or are you dragging? I'm sorry, I got the line wrong, but it's just one of the many great lines from J.K. Simmons in this movie, and just a solid performance overall, more than well and worthy of winning the Oscar that year. Just a great performance overall from him. Mark Rylance as Rudolph Abel in Bridge of Spies. I mean, this was a controversial Best Supporting Actor win that year because everyone thought Sylvester Stallone was going to get into Rocky Balboa. And as much as I love Stallone in Creed, don't get me wrong, he is fantastic, and we'll get to Creed in just a second. Mark Rylance just leads this performance that just, you're hooked into it as you're watching this movie. It is so well done. It is so perfectly put together. I mean, he has to go alongside Tom Hanks in this and just knocks it out of the park. I mean, the guy is a seasoned actor. He was great on Broadway. He was great as the BFG that came out after this. He deserved the Oscar for this. It was well worth it for him to win it. It's a performance I'll defend till the very end. Speaking of Creed, at least Sylvester Stallone was great as Rocky in that, but Michael B. Jordan as Adonis is just amazing in that. And I thought Creed 3 in particular was definitely the best one of the bunch. But in the original Creed, it's a performance that just continues to prove that, hey, Michael B. Jordan's one of our great living actors we have right now, and he's just knocking it out of the park with these performances. And it started with Creed, honestly. I mean, yeah, Chronicle came out years before that, and Fantastic Four really wasn't his fault. It was just a bad movie altogether. But Creed was the beginning of that moment when everyone started to realize that this Michael B. Jordan kid's got a potential as an actor in the future. And look at where he is now 10 years later. He and Ryan Coogler, the director of Creed, actually went ahead to make Black Panther. And just recently, Sinners was a big blockbuster hit. And it was a great movie, too. One of the year's best films. In fact, it might still be the best movie I've seen so far this year. I'd have to double check again. But I think it still is my favorite movie of the year so far when I look at it. But Michael B. Jordan as Adonis, got to throw that in there as well. Speaking of the greatest actors we have right now, Denzel Washington had probably his best performance as Troy Maxon in Fences, a movie that he directed and also featured Viola Davis as his wife, who ended up winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, which was well deserved. Denzel Washington, I think, is somebody who's long deserving of a third Oscar in general. And in Fences, he gave the strongest performance of the past 20 years. I mean, it was behind American Gangster. American Gangster, I think, is his best movie overall, but Fences is a movie where he's knocking it out of the park, just bringing this great August Wilson story to life on the big screen, playing this role so well. It's been played very well by numerous other actors in the past, including James Earl Jones. Just a terrific performance, one that I think should have gotten a well-deserved Academy Award nomination and win, too, if you really want to go down that route. But Denzel Washington deserves a third Oscar, man. But, Daniel Kaluuya, who broke out big time with the movie Get Out, playing Chris Washington. And yeah, he won an Oscar later on for Judas and the Black Messiah, but Get Out was the movie that basically showed that this guy's got a lot of potential as an actor going forward. And he plays this role very well in the film. He's one of the scene stealers of the movie, just a very good performance overall. And a great film that showed Jordan Peele's potential as a filmmaker. I don't need to tell you more about that already. Chadwick Boseman, the late great Chadwick Boseman, had a lot of great performances in the last 20 years, but I thought his performance as T'Challa in Black Panther probably stood out as the best one of all. That was my favorite movie of 2018, and Boseman had just been come off of these one great performance one after another. This 42 playing Jackie Robinson, Get On Up playing James Brown. Even though that movie wasn't that great, his performance as James Brown was great. I mean, this was a guy who was on his way to becoming a terrific, terrific actor and should have won an Oscar for his last performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bond. I'm sorry, Anthony Hopkins. I love you as an actor, but you already had an Oscar, and that guy was never going to have a chance to win an Oscar at that point. But his performance as T'Challa is really good in Black Panther. He really sticks out the best. Just a solid performance overall in that film. Bradley Cooper as Jackson Maine. Bradley Cooper had a lot of great performances, including one of my favorite movies of all time, The Silver Linings Playbook. But, playing Jackson Maine in A Star Is Born alongside Lady Gaga, who we'll get to later on, just a really, really solid performance all across the board in that movie. Just a terrific performance from him. And, a film that shows that he's not just a great actor, but a great director, too. He also directed that film, co-wrote it. Just a good film all across the board with that one. Speaking of Tom Hanks, we talked about him in Charlie Wilson, his movie Charlie Wilson's War earlier. Probably my favorite performance of him in the last 20 years was playing Mr. Rogers in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. And this is a movie where he's the supporting character in the movie, while Matthew Rhys is the leading guy in here. In fact, when he was nominated for an Oscar, he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And, Mr. Rogers is kind of an institute around here. I live in Western Pennsylvania. I live near Pittsburgh, and he's a Pittsburgh institution, man. So seeing him on the big screen and played by Tom Hanks and just knocking it out of the park, I mean, it's a great performance overall here, and it's a great performance where in this movie he's not the main character in here. He's essentially the side character to the storyline going on with Matthew Rhys, and it's a film that just works very well and plays very well to that performance overall in the movie. He is very good in here. It's my favorite performance of his in the last 20 years. Tom Hanks is great as Mr. Rogers in this film. Brendan Fraser was really good in his performance in The Whale, which won him the Oscar in 2022. Just a solid performance overall. Some people were very mixed on the movie itself, but everyone could agree that Brendan Fraser shows everybody that he's not just the guy from The Mummy or the Looney Tunes movies or Journey to the Center of the Earth. The guy has given it his all in a movie like this, and he is a great dramatic actor who was well earned that Oscar that he got for this performance, no matter how you feel about the film itself. Ryan Gosling as Ken in Barbie, one half of the really good duo in the duo in that movie. I almost thought about putting his performance in La La Land, but he's had a lot of great performances in the last 20 years since coming into his own. I mean, this, like I said, La La Land, The Ides of March, The Fall Guy, he was really good in. Drive, just all these really good performances, one after another. But my favorite one is his role as Ken as Barbie. Like, he really knocks it out of the park there. And if there's any performance he probably should have gotten an Oscar for, it's probably that. I mean, he really was funny in that movie. Brian Tyree Henry as D16/Megatron in Transformers 1. This is a performance that I gave as the best acting performance last year at the Reviewing Network Awards. And I still stick by it because it's one of the best voice performances from a guy who is a great seasoned actor and his own character actor on his own merits, but he puts his all into this performance as Megatron, and you can tell that if you watch Transformers 1, you can see how in the beginning he is not the same person that he will eventually become at the end of the movie, and the progression of this character and finding out these horrible truths about the world he's been living in. It's just like, it just takes your breath away every time you see the transformation, man. Like that last scene where Optimus thinks he can save him, and then there's that point where Megatron is officially here, and it's just like, I'm done saving you, and he throws him off the thing. Like, that still gets me every single time I see it. Great performance from a really underrated movie. Two performances from Saturday Night Live. Gabriel LaBelle, who's had a good start to his young career, playing young Steven Spielberg in The Fabelmans, and then playing Lorne Michaels in Saturday Night Live. And again, a performance where he's really knocking it out of the park, and you see a guy who's determined to get this show on the air, while his buddy, Cooper Hoffman, Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, who plays Dick Ebersol, is really giving this terrific performance. That great scene in the staircase where, Dick is telling him, they want you to fail, and just going off, and you can see those mannerisms of his father coming out big time in that performance. Two really solid performances from one of the year's best films from last year. Saturday Night, great performances by Gabriel LaBelle, Cooper Hoffman, also Rachel Sennott was very good in that movie. Just a ton of solid performances in overall. Definitely check the movie out if you haven't seen it. And then the final two performances I have here, John Turturro as Carmine Falcone. I mean, everyone's performance in The Batman was great. Robert Pattinson, Andy Serkis. But if there's one, Zoe Kravitz, if one performance sticks out the most in that movie, Colin Farrell too, as the Penguin. But the performance that really sticks out with me is John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, a performance that I really, really thought should have gotten him a Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination. I was pissed when they didn't give it to him because the guy has given his all in that performance. And John Turturro's been a great character actor for the last 30 years, but that was a performance that really just showed him at his absolute best. He was so good as Falcone in that movie, and he's the one thing you take away from that film, like, man, this guy is incredible. And the best overall acting performance of the last 20 years, I don't think it's much of a surprise, Heath Ledger as the Joker. I mean, this is a performance where if you're going to go out early in your career, go on a high note, and Heath Ledger certainly does that and then some as the Joker. Not only a performance that is so good and just memorable and just so, like, he gets all the ranges of emotions. He can be funny, but he can also be scary as all hell. He can be thoughtful. He can actually be smart. Like when he's burning the money, it's just like, it's not about the money, it's about sending a message. And yeah, you feel the guy's threatening power all throughout the course of that movie, and he's the one big takeaway from that film that just sticks out so much in that film. Heath Ledger as the Joker in The Dark Knight might very well be the best overall performance by an actor overall in the last 20 years of doing this show. So there you go. That's about 25 different performances I just brought up on that list there. But hey, we still got the actresses to go, so we'll take a little break, get yourself comfortable for a little bit, and then when we come back, we'll take a look at the best actresses' performances of the last 20 years. So stick around, because we will be right back. And welcome back. We took a look at my favorite actors' performances over the last 20 years, so let's take a look at my favorite actresses' performances of the last 20 years. And there were a lot of very good ones, and, you know, some that you just gotta watch the movie to really see it for yourself overall. So let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's start off with the first one I have here, and that is Queen Latifah as Georgia Bird in The Last Holiday Remake. And The Last Holiday Remake is actually one of my favorite movies, and one of the reasons I love it is because of Queen Latifah's performance as Bird. I like her because the film does a great job of not resorting her down to just one emotion or one personality. The film progresses with her from being the mousy, shy person to becoming a normal, regular person who wants to just go ahead and live her life out because she knows she's going to die. I mean, the best thing about her character is that she never lies about herself or who she really is. Everything she says is the truth, but it's the other people around her that think of her as something else. And throughout the course of the film, she's never lying to anybody. I mean, there's a point where even Tim Hutton's character flags her down and reveals who she is. She just comes out like, yeah, that's who I am, and then says, hey, I'm gonna go, I'm doing this because I'm gonna die soon. Just like, that's what I love about this character. She doesn't lie to people because she doesn't really care what other people think of her. She just respects them and talks to them as regular people, and she's willing to take chances on everything she does, and makes it such a unique performance that the character that not a lot of films usually show. It's a great character. There's so much different about her than we're used to seeing in films like this, and that makes it one of my favorite performances from the last 20 years. Next up, we have Sandra Bullock as Dr. Ryan Stone in Gravity. You know, this is a movie where she's paired with George Clooney for the first half of the movie, and then the rest of the movie is just her just trying to survive and get through and try to get back to Earth overall. And when George Clooney leaves, it's basically her movie, and this is a performance where I really think she's given the best thing about. This really is the strongest performance ever, because she's really got to do this without having a whole lot of people around her. It's just her for the majority of the film. It's very captivating. It keeps you invested. This is the better performance to me than her performance in The Blind Side, easily. Lupita Nyong'o as Roz in The Wild Robot. She had a lot of really good performances that I could have put in here. 12 Years a Slave, of course, the one where she won for Best Supporting Actress, and then, of course, Us. But my favorite one, I think, is Roz and the Wild Robot, because kind of like with Queen Latifah in Last Holiday, she starts off as just one person in general, but then as the film goes along, she matures, she learns, and she realizes that, you know, she's becoming more of a different person than we saw her at the beginning. At the beginning, she's just a standard robot, but she finds she finds emotions, she finds this thing that these things and these animals that she's attached to, and she's willing to do whatever it takes to survive overall, and you know, keep these animals safe in general. And it's just something that just really sticks out so well in this movie. Just such a well done performance. It's easily my favorite performance of hers from the last 20 years of filmmaking overall. Just a terrific film and a terrific performance by Lupita Nyong'o. Emily Blunt as Rita Fatowsky in Edge of Tomorrow, a great underrated movie, one of the best underrated movies from the past 20 years. I like her because she doesn't fall into the typical action heroine storyline stereotype overall. She's contributing to everything that's going on. She helps Tom Cruise's character fight the right way and make sure he survives another day, and she fights the threats just like the main characters do. Like, it's a very solid performance that doesn't just resort her as the stock action heroine sidekick in this, or the love interest to Tom Cruise's character. It's a performance that really is one that very much got overlooked when it came out, but in the years since, I think people are starting to realize that, yeah, that performance was definitely more than worth it overall. Rosamund Pike as Amy Elliott Dunn in Gone Girl, a movie that was very highly praised when it came out, but it sadly never really did anything noteworthy at the Oscars overall, even though it was a massive hit. I mean, it was largely overlooked, and come to think of it, I don't even think she got even nominated for this performance, but she should have, because, my God, she is so damn good in this movie, giving this haunting and chilling performance. And, you know, you find out that she's clearly a sadistic person overall, and it's Ben Affleck's character who gets the most screwed over by her in this, because he's cheating on her, and this is everything she wants and then some. And when she has this turnaround, and you find out what her real purpose is in this movie, it's just kind of like, yeah, this is a performance that just sticks with you more than many times after you watch it. It's just such a terrific performance from her that should have gotten a lot more attention. And I want to think she did get nominated for Best Supporting Actress. I think that she was the only one she got nominated, but if she didn't, she deserved it, though. Next up, Alicia Vikander as Ava in Ex Machina, a.k.a. the performance that she should have won the Oscar for in 2015, and not for the performance in The Dangerous Girl. But hey, she won the Oscar that year, so all is right with the world, I guess. But I really would have liked if she had won for Ex Machina, because she really was the thing that really stuck out the most in that movie, creating one of the most memorable robotic characters in a long time, which, kind of like with the Wild Robot, starts off as a robot, but as the progression goes on, and you see that she is learning from all this, and learning that her world around her is kind of messed up, like she becomes a completely different character than she did when she started, and it just works so well all across the board in this film. It's a really solid performance, a really engaging film, just a terrific performance by Alicia Vikander in this. Lady Gaga as Ally Main in A Star Is Born, and Bradley Cooper may have been great in that movie too, but Lady Gaga was the breakout star in that movie, proving that, hey, she's not just a great singer, but she can also be a pretty damn good actress as well, and knocks it out of the park in that film overall. A pair of performances from West Side Story. Rachel Zegler as Maria. I thought she was very good in that movie, and it's sad that in the 4 years since then, she's kind of been pushed off as a pariah because she opposes the current regime in the world, which is really not that big of a deal. Which really isn't that big of a deal, folks. I'm sorry to tell you that, but hey, she's great on Broadway as Evita, so there's that. But it's a shame that her career's kind of fallen off a little bit, but not completely out of the blue just yet. But speaking of people whose career have fallen off, Ariana DeBose, sadly, this is her highlight, because ever since she played Anita, yeah, her career has gone completely down here. Not because of the performances themselves, but just the bad movies that she finds herself in. I mean, she's a great actress and deserves much better than this. And her performance as Anita in West Side Story shows that and then some. This is a solid performance overall. One that is right up there with Rita Moreno's performance from the original West Side Story, and just knocks it out of the park in that film overall. I know I keep saying knocks it out of the park, but hey, that's how I feel about these performances overall. Case in point, with Michelle Yeoh as Evelyn in Everything Everywhere All at Once. A really good film with a lot of really good performances. The three acting Oscars went to three different people in those movies, including Ke Huy Quan and also Jamie Lee Curtis. But it's Michelle Yeoh's performance overall that really sticks out the best in that film overall. what's next here? Angela Bassett as Queen Ramonda in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, a performance that Jamie Lee Curtis beat her out for. And as much as I love her in that movie, Angela Bassett should have won that Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. I mean, there's times in that movie where Angela Bassett is just so damn good, and you feel the emotion she's going through with her son dead, and the fact that she has to run this country, and basically, being told by people that certain circumstances can't allow you to do that. Just really unfortunate that she didn't get an Oscar for this performance, man. It was more than worthy of that. Speaking of performances that probably should have gotten Oscars, Lily Gladstone as Molly Burkett in Killers of the Flower Moon, a performance where, she has to be acting alongside these heavyweights in Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, and just really is one of the things that sticks out the most in that film, and just a performance that I really think should have gotten her an Oscar overall. Although I will admit, Emma Stone as Bella Baxter in Poor Things was pretty good, and yeah, I could kind of see why the Academy would give it to her. I mean, she really is good in that film. I would honestly say it's better than her performance in La La Land, and La La Land was a great movie overall, but she was great as Bella Baxter in there. It took me a while to realize that, but I can kind of see why they gave it to Emma Stone. Would have liked it if they gave it to Lily Gladstone. Margot Robbie as Barbie in Barbie, a performance that wasn't even nominated for Best Actress, which really doesn't make any sense because, yeah, Margot Robbie was great in that movie, and she fit that role so well. A couple great performances in The Substance. Demi Moore was the one who got most of the buzz overall in the Oscar nomination, which she more than well deserved and probably should have won had it not been for another performance that we'll get to. 2024 overall had a lot of great performances for actresses, as we're going to see here. And Margaret Qualley playing the woman that becomes Demi Moore after she takes the drug and all that as Sue. Very good overall in that film. Naomi Rapaz and Rooney Mara as Lisbeth Salander in both the original and the remake of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. One of the fun, great characters to watch overall because you see this woman take so much of a beating in these movies, and then it's going to be okay because not too long after that she's going to get her revenge, and it's going to be more than sweet to watch because those people are going to feel the pain that she had to go through, and yeah, she's such a well-written character. She was great from the books overall. Just a really, really solid actresses played these performances overall. Just really, really good performances all across the board in that. Actually, I kind of forgotten about this performance, but yeah, Glinda the Good Witch, Michelle Williams in Oz the Great and Powerful was really good. It was one of those moments in that movie where that really stuck out with me the most. I don't know if it was just because the looks, because she did look really good in that movie, but again, I like it because she was more than aware of James Franco's character in that situation, not being the actual wizard, but she still believed that he would be the savior that they needed more than what they wanted, because she knew that something was up with her sisters in that, and she knew that the world around her was in peril. I don't know, maybe it's because of the looks and the performance given by Michelle Williams that made that one stand out on its own for me. But of course, if I got to talk about great Glindas over the last couple of years, I can't overlook Ariana Grande and Sophia Urvio as Glinda Elphaba in Wicked. Two solid performances, and they have to come in and fill a void left over by Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel from the Broadway show, and they knock it out of the park. They make it their own. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do in the sequel coming up in a couple months with Wicked for Good, but the first Wicked movie, they've knocked it out of the park big time. Great performances overall. Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow. I mean, if there's any other character in the MCU that you really get invested in, it's Black Widow because, starting with the Avengers, you get more into why she's such an interesting action heroine, and by Captain America 2, she becomes her own badass character, and it still continues to grow, with the further Avengers movies as well as with Black Widow. And, she's just such a great character, proving her worth. She cares that even though she doesn't want to show it, and she's a badass fighter that contributes to the fight instead of just being the typical, damsel in distress and all that. She does stuff that's part of the story that becomes established, and it comes from Scarlett Johansson knocking it out of the park as this great character. And, that's why a lot of people really love her, because she really is a big notable part of that movie in general. Idina Menzel as Elsa in Frozen. This is a character that really, people overlook it because, Frozen's so overhyped nowadays. We've had so many movies, but you really watch the growth of this character in these films, and you see that there is an intriguing backstory behind this whole thing. She's somebody who has been given this unfortunate curse on her by having the ability to create ice and all that, but she uses that as a gift later on, especially in the sequel, which I feel like gets really trashed for no particular reason. They did a pretty good job of expanding that storyline in that movie, and I thought her performance in that film was really good as well. But Idina Menzel as Elsa in Frozen was really good. Pam Anderson, just recently in The Last Showgirl as Shelley Gardner, proved that, hey, this is a good actress who really is really much better than we gave her credit for. And, you know, which, to be fair, really wasn't her fault. It was just a lack of good material she was given over the course of her career. I mean, even something like Barbed Wire, she's not that bad in the film. It's just a bad script to work with. And with The Last Showgirl, Gia Coppola gives her a script to work with, and it works really well, and shows that this woman can be a really good actress. We just saw it recently in The Naked Gun. She played off of Liam Neeson so well, and can be really funny too. Ellen Page as Juno McGuff in Juno, which is a really, really good performance overall. You know, it's a performance that works because, you know, she perfectly plays it as a teenager who's in this bad situation, but she's not making the stupid decisions. She's fully aware of what's going on. She's much smarter than she lets on with other people, and like she knows she's trying her hardest to make everything work, and she doesn't make the right choices. But when they happen, you understand it because she's a teenager. She's going to make these stupid decisions, and you have to learn from these decisions so you can be a better person. And it's smart enough to show the downsides of teen pregnancy, and is successful in having a message by having a smartly written teen character like Juno McGuff as its lead. I lost the list here for a second. Mikey Madsen, we just had her recently in Anora. I mean, she was great because, kind of like with Juno, she didn't give a crap of what people told her around her. Like, yeah, she gets married early on, and when they're getting and when they're having an argument with his parents, like, she talks back to her right away because, like, the great line in that movie is when she's talking to her mother and she's just like, just flat out calling her son an effing pussy, and literally when her mother talks back to her, she's just like, and your son hates you so much, so he married a disgusting hooker to piss you off. And even her father's laughing, even his father's laughing out loud at that. It's just like, yeah, that's a great performance overall, more than well deserving of the Oscar. And yeah, it was just a great year for actresses in that year in particular. But my favorite overall performance of the last 20 years for female characters, it's got to be Tiffany Maxwell from the Silver Linings Playbook, played by Jennifer Lawrence. And what makes her such a great character is that if you look at her on her own, she's not all that impressive. But when you watch her in the movie, you really get to see why she's a great character. And it's great that Jennifer Lawrence plays that character so well. The chemistry between her and Bradley Cooper works. And it works because she really does shine and gives the movie that edge that it needs to really... Like, she is a great foil to Bradley Cooper in this movie. They're both people who are really struggling to get by in life, and they need each other more than they think, and it just works to a T. And that really is the best performance I've seen in the last 20 years from a female actress. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence, terrific performance in that film, more than deserving of the Oscar that won that year. Just a really great film overall, really great performance. That's my favorite actress performance of the last 20 years. So there you go. That's my list of the best actor and actress performances of the last 20 years. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of my choices? Do you have some choices of your own? I would love to hear it down below in the comments. And next week, we head back to the movie theater to see what Jordan Peele has in store for us, even though technically he's the producer on this movie. But it's a very intriguing movie with Marlon Wayans, starring as a former football player who basically takes this young quarterback prodigy and basically tries to turn him in a film that is very reminiscent of another storyline that actually happened in real life. We'll talk about him coming up next week. With all that said, thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, and check out the last review I did for The Conjuring, The Last Rites, and also The Roses, as well as our playlist as well. Now, with all that said, we'll leave you with a look at movies coming out on Blu-ray and DVD this week. And until then, I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.